380,000 Protestant churches in America. 380,000 Protestant churches in America. Because of the pandemic, it is projected in the next 18 months, 100,000 of those churches will close. There are 380,000 Protestant churches. It's projected because of the pandemic, 100,000 of those churches will close or more. Watch this. There are 205 million Christians in America. Out of the 205 million Christians in America, 1 in 3 practicing Christian, hear me very carefully, stop attending church because of the pandemic. 1 in 3 stopped attending church because of the pandemic. Pastor, what does that mean? That means that church as we knew it is no more. No longer can you, no longer should our approach to church and ministry be this. And this is what we're used to. We're used to telling people to come to our church and experience what we have. In the 80s and 90s, we would promote church like this. In early 2000s, it would be our church has this, our church has that, our church has that, and our church has this. Come and see what we have, and you will like it. Here's the harsh reality. People don't want church anymore. You're on the line of even wanting church. We can tell that in your approach to ministry, your excellence towards ministry. That if you're hanging on by a thread, imagine people who don't have a real solid walk with the Lord. And let's not even talk about the power of the Holy Spirit. And if you have not been taught to commit to church, you are absent of the Holy Spirit, and you're just conscious of religion, then any type of thing will take you out of the church. The pandemic is almost 2 years old, and it literally has shaken the foundation of the institution of the church. When I say the institution, not the four walls of the church, but people literally left the faith, left their conviction of ministry, and took on other things, right? And whether we can get into a theological debate about the significance of the church, etc., but we have to also embrace the reality of the new church, that people don't want church. People don't want what we call a religious construct. They don't want that. People want freedom while having spirituality at the same time. And so if your only approach to the reality of culture is people just need Jesus, you can have that conversation and you can make that declaration and proclamation. It's still not going to draw people back to church because people don't want Jesus, especially the African American context. We have been convinced that Jesus is a white guy and there is more than one way to get to God. Now that phenomenon has always been around, but because of the pandemic and because of social media, the easy access to more knowledge and information, it has now convinced people that, oh yeah, I do not need church and religion. And so here's my question to you. I know you think you're all that. I know you think you do. I know you think you have the best worship. I know you think you have the best customer service, hospitality. I know you think we have the best church in the world. Here's my question to you. Why should I come to your church? Why should I get up every Sunday morning and come to this church? Why? We have to start asking ourselves that question. Oh, because people need Jesus. I don't want Jesus. Or I can have Jesus at home. Why do I need to come here? No. I'm asking you a question. Logically speaking, I have worked 45. Do you understand that culture has changed from an average work week? Listen, 10 years ago, average work week was 40 hours. People are not working 40 hours anymore. People are working 50 and 60 hours, underpaid, overworked, underpaid. So I'm asking you a question. I have more money. Our culture has more money, specifically African American people. We have more money than we've ever had before. We've worked harder. Watch this. We have more education, more opportunity, more exposure with more money. So because I work hard and I have more education, which leads me to more money, more opportunity leads me to easy access of vacation, etc. Why should I work 50 hours a week and get up on a Sunday morning when I could literally be on vacation or just relaxing, preparing for my next 50 hours? I'm asking you a question. Why should they come here? My question when I do trainings all over the world one day, I'm going to ask every pastor, why the hell should people come to your church? Because you have a dope flyer or something? Because you think you're preaching a word that the world needs to hear, and that's why they should come, because when they hear your anointing, people will change. Let me tell you something. People will come and sit in your church and text and can't wait to get out. And when you ask them, how was it? They will say, it was cool. Why should they come to Encounter? Because you're going to come here and get an encounter. Maybe, maybe not. And the average church, if they're asked that question, why should we come to your church? You're going to respond by saying this, because we have. We have. That's your response. We have. Most people work so hard, they're so tired. Do you have a bed? I don't see my family anymore because I work hard, trying to maintain the lifestyle that I have, or I'm trying to get somewhere. I have children, I'm married, I want to spend time with my children. So Saturdays and Sundays are those days. Why? After 18 months of a pandemic of freedom, I no longer have the obligation to get my children up 2 and 3 hours early to be at a church. I can just watch it online, and we can preach and teach about the necessity of coming into the facility of the gospel. But that still does not convince me when I have 2 children. Hear me. Rashina can get up. She has to be at church at 9. She can get up at 8:30 and be here at. She can get up at 7:30 and be here at 9. If a person has 2 children, 1 child, they have to get up at 5. They're not just getting up, bathing, and putting on clothes. They have children, so they have to prepare snacks to keep the child from crying. They have to do toys. What toy? What's your favorite toy? Where is the toy? Then we have to set the car up in the baby seat. We took the baby seat and put it in the other car. Now I got to put that because he at work, so I got to get that out. And that takes an hour just to put the baby seat in because of the police requirements. And I don't want to get in an accident. The baby seat does not work, so I got to do that for about 45 minutes. Then where is the keys? I forgot the keys. I don't put that little thing on the keys to track my keys. And they found out that the little girl, took the keys and put it under the toy. So now I'm late. Now I got to make sure. So then I got to get to church on time. And then I come here and you're looking at me sideways because I'm late. You ain't got 2 children. You have the audacity to suggest that I am not as committed as you. If I wouldn't have had these children, I would be here before you, but I am a mother. And for over a year, I didn't have to worry about that. I got my worship on, I had my PJs on, my favorite undergarments, and I could enjoy worship, put it on the big screen, and not have to do all of the preparatory actions and steps to get here just to show you that I'm committed. So I'm asking you a question. Why should I come back when I found a more convenient way to serve God? Somebody walks up to you and say, hey, why should I come to your church? The average church person is going to say, because we have. That is not where we are as the body of Christ anymore. We are now at the place where we identify what you need. Marketing used to be this. We say stupid stuff. It's so stupid now that I look back at it. Come to service, you're going to experience a powerful move of God. As we put on our flyers. Come is going to be phenomenal. And then think about it. That's every Sunday. Every Sunday is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be great. Well, here's the reality of it. Nothing is always great. And if it is, hear me very carefully, you've plateaued. So now, if it's a plateau, there's no longer anywhere to go. So great is common, and it becomes common to the person that's participating. So it's no longer what? Great. So it has to be, we have, write this down, the answer to your problem. If you want to be relevant consistently, you will be a dinosaur of a person if you do not have answers to people's problems. A church, an organization, a person that can solve problems will always be in demand. Hear me very carefully. Unfortunately, your response to that can't be, we have the answer and his name is Jesus. Yeshua HaMashiach. We have the solution to your problem. Marketing has to be, do you have relationship issues? Question mark. Come and hear 3 things that will help you solve that problem. Is your marriage going through a difficult time? Are you a newlywed? Are you single, horny, trying to be holy? We have 3 tips. Are you suffering from depression? Do you want to grow your business? Do you want to grow your church? Are you a single parent looking for better methods to raise your children? This is the new wave of ministry, solving problems. Those 100 and something churches, 100 and something thousand churches that will close down, probably, and we speak peace and blessings to those churches. But just because you are a church and you love God, I want you to understand something. I want you to get this, Dr. Jill, that those 100 and something thousand Protestant churches that will close down, when you say very blanket statements like, well, we love God, that's why we're open. We believe in prayer. That's why we're open. We have more of a radical church. That's why we're open. So you're suggesting that they didn't believe in prayer? You're suggesting that they didn't love God? They're the church. These people, hear me, all of us represent Jesus Christ. Yet and still, hundreds of thousands of those churches will and have closed. So it could not be a spiritual answer that keeps you open. Cultural principles keep you open. Pastor, what do you mean? The ability to relate to culture, The ability to move with culture is how you remain relevant. Many of you are powerful people, you're not relevant. I say this to you all the time. Culture changes now every 3 to 4 years. The church changes every 20, so it puts the church in a 17-year difference. Hear me. People ask me, hey, tell me how you do what you do. I always open up with this. I believe that your church should change something every time a new iPhone comes out. Number one, never get addicted to people. Pastor, what do you mean by that? I say this all the time. I don't care how you feel about it. I'm not loyal to you. I'm loyal to your growth. As long as you're growing, you can stick with me. We still cool, but you won't be able to be a part of my circle. We're not growing old together. We're growing together. I say that again. We're not growing old together. Hear me. We're not married. Married people grow old together. But when you're trying to be progressive, hear me, we grow together. If you stop growing, then we have to part ways because that can hinder what? My growth. I tell my staff this all the time. You're at this table because there is something that indicates to me you are attempting to grow. As soon as you stop growing, I don't care how long we've been down like 4 flats, you got to go. So the church is more so committed to loyalty. This is why we have deacons doing sound. Go to the average Baptist church, you have security teams and parking lot ministry and deacon. People don't know nothing about sound. They're in the sound department. Listen, I've gone to several places and I have real sound techs with me and the deacon won't move. I've been doing this 20 years. How is it, hear me, when we talk about competency, how is your longevity in a church and your grandfather used to be the one that started the church? How does that relate to moving out of the way when someone who's educated comes to the soundboard? But hear me, as crazy as that is, you have that same attitude because it's difficult for you to hear the opinions of people who are educated in a particular area. You become insecure when someone says, change that. You do your little thing, and then Pastor Mal comes and says not to do that. You have the same attitude as that deacon in that Baptist church because better is better. We don't care that it took you all night to do something. If it was trash, you did trash all night. Hear me, we're not going to be loyal to the fact that you did something all night. We're only loyal to productivity. Thank you for what you did. You could have done that better. Next time you should ask questions. Next time you should wait on partnership. And if you continue, hear me, if you say, well, hey, I want to get better, then the next time you do 8 hours, it's going to be phenomenal. Make sense? So many of us are, yeah, that deacon, but we do the same thing. You want people to be loyal to your work, but we're only loyal, hear me very carefully, to productivity and quality. Yes, sir. We don't like that. Okay, watch this. Don't miss this. This is my favorite part of this particular session. I have 4 or 5 favorite parts, though. If we're going to be a phenomenal organization, we have to master, here's my session, we have to master experience. What are people experiencing when they come? What are people experiencing when they come? When people come, what are they experiencing? What's the experience like? From the time people get out of their vehicles, drive onto the campus, I'm sorry about that. When people drive onto the campus, that starts the experience. I want you to look at your area. I want you to look at your entire area. What's the experience when people come? When people drive to the campus, as soon as they come on, they first see security. Then they see greeters. Then they experience the lobby. Then they experience the service. Here's what we do in the African American context. We master the service. We do not master the parking lot. The experience starts when people, hear me, watch this. The experience starts when people leave their home. That's what do you mean? People are always looking at, watch this, this is why when we're thinking about locations, we're talking to pastors, so forth, A, B, C, and D, we have to consider, if we move to a particular location, when people put in the location in their GPS, how far are people willing to commute to their local church? So the experience starts when people get in their vehicles. I want you to look at your particular area, and I want you to consider several things that will improve the experience of encounter. Everything is about an experience. Elder Torrey mentioned Chick-fil-A. Well, Chick-fil-A is an experience. It's not just a restaurant. It's an experience. I say this. There are better French fries and chicken sandwiches in the world. But they have an experience. How have you improved the experience of your particular area? Let's challenge it. When I pull up to the campus, what uniform do I see that clearly says security? Watch this. When you look at Chick-fil-A, they've improved their uniforms several times since their existence. You are behind the 8 ball of experience and innovation if you're still wearing the same uniforms, if you have not improved the uniforms, if you have not added to your particular uniform, if you have not added to the administration of your team, if you have a team and you all have not even invested in shirts, if you have not invested in how you're going to, listen, a greeting, what do we say at the door? What do you do to improve what have you done to improve the experience? If you have not improved the experience, you're taking away, watch this, from the productivity of the entire organization. Does this make sense? All right, keep going here. Watch this. 3 things I want you to think about and keep in mind if we're going to improve experience. Was parking convenient? Did the online service start on time? Did the security team speak? Did anyone assist me with my child? How many people spoke to me? Was the door held open for me? Was it hot in the building? How long did I have to wait in line? How long was the restroom wait? How clean was the restroom when I went into it? Were the ushers nice? Or here we call them service attendants. How did people look? How did the facility smell? Was signage clear or even available? Do people know where to go? All a part of the experience. When people leave, are they well informed about how to stay connected? All a part of the experience. Every person in this room, you are a part of one of those experiences. How are you improving it? If you're in this room, you are a leader. How are you improving the experience? do you think about improving the experience? What have you done that's new towards the experience? Okay, now let me go back to something. I want to make this very, very clear here about what people need to say when they come. Since we invite them, people need to, this is what people need to say having come to your experience. Watch this. We know that initially the new wave says, hey, we have the solution. People need to say things like this. I have grown here. I've improved. I've become better. I've learned. I no longer do. I have started to. This is how you grow the new church. You solve people's problems while yet solving problems, never omitting that people, when they come, they have to experience something. Several things you need to know. When people come, they need to experience, number one, authenticity. People want to experience authentic people, real people, genuine people. Real stories, real issues, real struggles, similar journeys, authentic worship and lifestyle. Pause. Authentic worship and lifestyle. That your worship life has to match your lifestyle. That your worship life has to match your lifestyle. Paul says that I will not eat meat if meat causes a man to stumble. Whatever I have to do to keep people from stumbling, that's what I'll do. Whatever I have to stop doing to keep people from stumbling, that's what I'll stop doing. I don't have an amen on that because we don't consider those things as believers. We hold on to the reality of our struggle while not considering that people are being observant of your journey, of your life, seeing what you produce online, not seeing a lifestyle that matches that worship. You have to understand that God will hold you accountable for causing people to stumble. So radical worship means a radical transformation. Radical worship means a radical transformation. I can be authentic in my story. I can be authentic in my journey while at the same time helping people encounter a transformative God. And this is what we're not doing in the 21st century church. We're presenting to people a God that will walk with you as you are trying to get it right, not a God that will completely transform your life. People, watch this, people brag about the authenticity of our worship at our church. That is not fake. But there's another addition to that. The addition is people who are worshiping radically, but at the same token being transformed. While at the same token, real worship, hear me, real worship is about transparency. So I do not hide or pretend that I am something that I am not. I'm able, because I'm so dedicated and one with God, I don't care about Rashini's opinion of me. I use my journey as a testament of the goodness and the grace of Jesus Christ. If you want to draw more people, hear me, present more problems that have been solved by way of my connection and conviction to Jesus Christ. So, AKA, hear me very carefully. Don't ever get enamored or impressed with your stupid title in church. Authenticity will attract people and draw people. We are all broken people here. You know, let me pause there. I like going off on a tangent. You know, I think married people need to start telling single people what marriage is really about. I'm not impressed so far, though. That's why people are not getting married rapidly, because the stuff that y'all producing ain't attractive. The authenticity of the believer will cause people to come to the faith. It will cause people not to make certain decisions. We keep marrying the wrong people because people keep marrying the wrong people. Tell the truth about marriage. Tell the truth about being single. Here's why you need to tell the truth. We already know. Don't sit here and pretend. Listen, don't present that y'all got this phenomenal marriage, because there ain't nobody smiling when they come in. And don't present that you are somewhere being holy. You have sex. And you enjoy it, and you ain't trying to stop. Don't come here playing. Now, here's why I'm saying this to you. Because when the unbelievers come in, these are the things that they need to hear. Now, everything needs to be presented in wisdom. You don't go over there and say, yeah, me and her sleeping together right now. We working through it. Well, put your hand down, dog. Put your hand down. Ain't nobody need to know about that. But the ability to communicate how you are constantly depending on God, and every issue in your life, hear me very carefully, has not been solved at the altar, and that should not keep you from coming into the knowledge of Jesus Christ. This is how you grow the church. Authenticity. We have radical worship here, not radical transparency. So I have to question the authenticity of worship, because worship is nothing more than transparency. Hear me very carefully. I can prove that the worship, hear me, the worship is authentic from an I love God perspective, but it's not authentic from an I've encountered God perspective. Why? Because real worship, watch this, breaks the need to protect ego. And when you are enamored by your title, I'm this at this church. To who? To who? You're no greater than Paul. You're no greater than Paul. Paul says, when I go to do good, evil seems to be there, present. Paul says, the thing I want to do, I do not do. The things I do not like doing, I end up doing anyway. Does this make sense? Okay, so authenticity. Number 2, eliminate confusion. Now watch this. I'm not talking about specifically, I'm not talking about conflict. If you're going to grow and expand the experience of a church, organization, whatever, a business, eliminate confusion. I'll give you a perfect example since you're in entrepreneurship and stuff like that. Your prices shouldn't be confusing. If you have a sale, show me where the sale is. When I type in the code and the code doesn't work for the sale, that's confusing. When the sale is over, communicate the sale is over, because I'm thinking that sale has continued. And if you deal with a person like OJ, she's going to say, well, hey, I don't see the notification. I should get the sale anyway. A real person will say, no. The last thing I saw, and they will show you where it is, and you will have to honor what the viewer saw. So you lost money because you did not eliminate confusion. Eliminate confusion. Watch this. If you do, it will save you money. That's confusing. Watch this. Eliminate confusion for the viewer, the reader, or the listener. If you are a team leader and your team, hear me very carefully. Ask your team, do you communicate well? Why are we not productive? Why are we not producing? Do you communicate well? Hear me. You are a poor communicator if people have to come back. Watch this. Now, what I'm finding out is people are poor listeners. I've never seen it so much in my life. People are poor. They don't listen well, Jesus. People need listening skills. It's just basic stuff. Basic stuff that we learned growing up. I don't know what y'all were doing in elementary school. Cops and robbers while the teacher teaching. We can tell now. People are poor listeners. I have never seen so many people repeat back to me what I did not say. When did I say that? However, I can't control your competence, but I can control my ability to communicate effectively and efficiently. Get with your team and ask them, do I communicate well? Watch this. Sometimes, hear me very carefully. Hear me very carefully. Now, about 10 of y'all going to run with this because you don't like it anyway, but I'm going to say it. Sometimes text messages can be confusing. I told my team a couple of days ago, I said, I didn't know that was that because it got all the everything looked the same. It's confusing. I thought that was the last one from last time. So I don't know. Hear me. Just because you think you are being effective does not, you may be just being efficient, not effective. I'm getting the job done, but if nothing is producing or being productive, if nothing is moving, that means your efficiency may need to be adjusted so it can be effective. Meaning this, when people know how to get the information, they comprehend it. One of the things I love doing is this. I understand what kind of person I am. I'm a hands-on person. So I'm not going to be able to listen to it and get it. I have to have my hands on it. I have to write it. I have to see it. So you have to understand, if you're going to be an effective leader, we're not even in our leadership session, if you're going to be an effective leader, you should not communicate how you like to be communicated with. You communicate, watch this, after you have studied your entire team or your organization. I know how LaDiamond receives. I know how Rhonda receives. I know how Kadia receives. I know, so I'm always communicating so everyone can comprehend. You are a poor leader if everything is about you. Team leaders, churches. Watch this. Where is the church? Went on Google. It said Rhema, but it's Encounter. If you have not done your due diligence to change that, I ain't changing. I don't know how to do it. If your uniform says Rhema and we've now been Encounter 1,000 days, that's confusing. So we could have stayed at Rhema if we wanted to continue to confuse people. How do you communicate? Text message, or I put it in the text. Watch this. Sometimes I'm realizing that a text should be a reminder. A phone call, Mr. Lazy Butt. Sometimes we need to advance into emails. Hear me. Can I say something to you? If you're still operating in GroupMe, you're behind. Well, I'm in a GroupMe entrepreneurship. Move on. Add. Innovate. The objective is to eliminate all confusion. This is how, hear me. If somebody always says, hey, what was that again? What was that again? You have to examine yourself and say, man, have I been communicating well? Social media, websites, everything should be communicating effectively, not just, hey, I did it. It may not be efficient. For example, I have a podcast team, and I said, well, how many people watch our podcast or listen to it? Okay, well, watch this. Where is the promotion about the podcast? There was none. Because communication is everything. Does this make sense? How do you communicate with your team? How does the church communicate with the community? If you're responsible, let's ask this question. What teams will be responsible for communicating with the community for our church? Not outreach. Influencers is one. What's the main one? Marketing. Y'all know what outreach is? What's outreach? Right. That's not communication. Yeah, that's engagement. Marketing is communication. Watch this. When you communicate colors, that's communication. That's communication. Everything from the church to your particular organization. I need to do it again because we didn't get it. Dr. Jill needs to come back and do another presentation on how to communicate. I mean, I'm talking about hours after she did her communication, jacked up emails. She sent the rough draft. Does this make sense? Okay, let's keep going. So what was the first one? Authenticity. The second one is what? Eliminate what? Watch this. 5 minutes here. Your team needs systems that are prepared for growth. All right? Now, who asks these two questions the most? Did you have fun? What did you learn? Pause, don't shout out nothing. Who asks those two questions the most? Did you have fun? What did you learn? Pause, don't shout out nothing. Think about it. Did you have fun? What did you learn? Who asks that question the most? Pause, think about it. Don't shout out nothing. Who asks, did you have fun? What did you learn? If you have the answer, raise your hand. Dr. Jill? Parents, that's it. Parents. Why is that important? If a church does not have an effective children's ministry, it will not grow. Why did I bring that up? Because that should be top 3 priority. Making sure the children's ministry is phenomenal. Okay? So every opportunity you can to invest in children's ministry, volunteer or so, you need to do it. Now, can't volunteer unless you do a background check. So if you've done something foolish, we're going to get you. We need volunteers. Watch this. Hear me. I'm trying to help the legacy team out. You need to comply with all rules and regulations of the legacy department. Why? Okay? Hear me, y'all. We're trying to build a team. The reason I'm sharing it with you, because if you don't get it, then it's not gotten. You're the leadership. You're the leadership. You should be assisting, sowing. You should also be complying so you can communicate with the new people. Okay? Let's keep it going here. Your team should have, 3 minutes, I want to give you this, a system that's prepared for growth. Write this down. System, structure, strategy, programs, practices. System, structure, strategy, programs, practices. System, structure, strategy, programs, and practices. Systems, structure, strategy, programs, and practices. No church, no company, no team, no person will ever evolve or develop, become better if they don't ask themselves these 2 questions. What else and what's next? What else? What's next? What else? What's next? Pause. Let me tell you what's so interesting, Dr. Jill. There are people in this room that 90% of what I'm saying doesn't apply to them because they don't do anything in the ministry. And what does that lead to? Nothing can be built on you. If you're a person in the house of God that, hear me, nothing can be built on you, is my recommendation. You step down. If you ain't writing nothing down right now, to go back and say, hey, let's examine our team, you are a prime rib indication. And nothing can be built on you. You need to step down. You're dead weight. team leaders, what's your system? Okay, now here's why I think that's important. Because I create systems every year that's not conducive for the membership I have. I'm always prepared with my system to house at least 200 people more. So right now, without any improvement for the next 2 years, I could stop planning and preparing. Right now, I could stop planning and preparing. I could stop, no more advancing, and I'll be prepared for 500 people. I'll say that again. Right now, I don't need any more improvement for 500 people. My system is literally established, well-oiled for 500 people. If they walked into this room right now, we wouldn't fold. Now, you may be overwhelmed because you have not complied with what I've established, but I will not. My church won't fold. Hear me very carefully. Let's do this. Are we prepared for 25 souls to be saved this Sunday? If 25 people rush to the altar and say, hey, I want to give my life to the Lord Jesus Christ, would we be prepared for that? Do we have a system for that? The answer is yes, but I'm trying to challenge you. You have to think like this. Yeah, we're prepared for it, but can it be improved? If 30 people join the church right now, they walked up and said, I'm coming to this church. It's my church. I'm joining ABC. It's the process. Well, hear me. I have created a system that's prepared for 500 people. Here's the problem with that. I don't think about the 500. I always think about the 1,000. So while hear me, the system that I'm planning is not for the 5. I was prepared for the 5 last year. I'm trying to make sure that we're ready for the 1,000. Pastor, what does that mean? If you're going to really have the mindset of your leader, auditory session, you prepare for the 1,000. I am not impressed with where we are. I was here 2 years ago. You can't be impressed with where we are. You should have been here 2 years ago. Where are you today? I'm 2 years ahead. Now watch this. Keep going. Watch this. What else, team? What else? Leaders, you should be thinking, what else? What else can I be doing? I'm bored. Many of you get into your emotions, you get in your feelings because you're not challenged. I don't get in my feelings. Why? Because I'm always putting myself in a situation that I have to grow and learn. I don't hang around people on my level. I'm not talking about what you should be. I'm saying me. I don't have a social circle. I don't hang out. I don't go out. I don't want to talk to you. Why? Because I have prioritized stretching my capacity. I don't go on vacations. Don't deserve one. Don't need one. Even if I need one, it ain't time to go on one. You're telling me to go on vacation because that's the capacity that you have. You want to rest and relax. I want to grow. Why? Because I'm always trying to figure out what's next. What's next for my church? What's next for me? I'm 30-something years old. 40 is around the corner. My life is thinking about how am I going to make sure my mother doesn't have to work? Not going on vacation. That's why your mama still works. What's next? What's next for Encounter? What's next for this team? What's next? What's next? What's next? Hear me very carefully. I don't need a prophet because my mind is already trying to figure out what's next. What's next? Watch this. Don't miss this. What else? What else can we do? When you are impressed with yourself, you never think about these questions. And this is when you, hear me, this is when you open up the door for depression because you're never being stretched. You're never growing. You're never reading anything. You're never figuring out new words. You know everything. You're the smartest person in your circle. Hear me very carefully. You should not be preaching to your circle, and that's the only time, you preach to your circle. You're the highest, you're the pinnacle of your circle, but you're not subject in another environment. You're not a servant in another environment. When I get around the people that I hang around, I don't say anything because I'm not smart there. You talk too much. When do you ever put yourself in a situation where you're intimidated, you're afraid to say something? What else? What else could you be doing? What else? I don't know. Do something that will lead to the what else. What else could you be doing in the church? Hear me. I'm going to say it until I die. I'm going to be richer than most people. Because I'm always thinking about what else. Because you won't say what else, what's next. But when I ask you to do something, you can't. Ask yourself this question. Why are you offended? Why are you arguing about cleaning stuff? Clean it. Just clean it. It takes too long. No, you're probably nasty at home anyway. Because anything worth cleaning takes a while. You're just not used to cleaning. You're not used to discipline. You're not used to a routine. So that's why you're offended. Dirty Nancy. Why are we having a meeting about who? Hear me. Here's the question, Cordelia. You shouldn't have to create a team to clean the popcorn machine. One person do it, and I'll do it for 6 years. If pastor can preach for 6 years straight and not miss and preach with the flu, give me the toothbrush. I'll just clean the butter while singing my song. But we got to come down and coddle. So watch this. If we're complaining about a popcorn machine, if we're complaining about a schedule, we're not ready to own $1 million building. We need to have tent revival. We're not ready. That's what I'm here to tell you. We're not ready. How do you know when you're ready? Because you may, man, I ain't like how she said that. Oh well, moving on to the next thing. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. We got stuff to do. What else? What's next? What else? What's next?